There are moments in life when it feels like the whole universe is conspiring against you. You push forward only to get knocked back. You try, and still the doors won't open. The weight of it all, disappointment, frustration, exhaustion, presses down on you like an invisible force, making you question if you'll ever break through. But here's what I want you to know. The storm you're facing is not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're still in the fight. And sometimes the fight isn't about swinging harder or running faster. It's about surrendering in a way that makes you stronger. Not to defeat, not to fear, but to something greater than yourself. So when it feels like everything is working against you, don't beg for an escape. Pray for the strength to endure. Pray for clarity to see beyond the chaos. Pray for resilience to rise when you feel like falling. Pray for wisdom to understand that even the closed doors are leading you somewhere necessary. Speak these words not as a last resort, but as a declaration of faith. Even in this, I am not alone. Even in this, I am being shaped. Even in this, something greater is at work. There's a story we tell ourselves when life starts falling apart. It whispers, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe this is where I stop. And that story, it's a lie. The truth is, adversity is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're in the middle of something important. No one comes out of the fire the same way they went in. And that's the point. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Strength isn't built in ease. The moments that test you the most are the ones that shape you the deepest. But here's the problem. When the weight of disappointment settles in, it's easy to believe that the struggle means you're losing. It's easy to think that the closed doors, the setbacks, the unexpected losses, they're all proof that the world is against you, that you're not enough, that you should stop trying. Don't fall for that lie. Pain doesn't show up in your life to destroy you. It shows up to stretch you, to teach you, to transform you. If everything were easy, you wouldn't need faith. If everything always worked out the first time, you wouldn't need resilience. If life never knocked you down, you'd never know the power of standing back up. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this making of me? Instead of praying for a way out, pray for the strength to walk through. Instead of seeing the struggle as proof that you're failing, see it as evidence that you are being shaped into someone who can carry the weight of the future you've been asking for. Because at the end of the day, you don't become strong by avoiding the fire. You become strong by standing in it and refusing to let it consume you. So don't mistake the battle for defeat. You're still here, and that means you're still in the fight. There's a difference between surrendering and giving up. Giving up is throwing your hands in the air and saying, I can't do this anymore. Surrendering is opening your hands and saying, I trust there is more at work here than what I can see. One is defeat, the other is courage in its rawest form. We live in a world that tells us to push harder, to grind, to fight until we break. But sometimes the real strength isn't in resisting, it's in allowing. It's in recognizing that there are forces bigger than you, moving things in ways you don't understand yet. It's in leaning into faith instead of fear, in releasing the illusion that you have to carry everything alone. The hardest moments in life will make you feel like you're losing control. You'll feel the urge to force things into place, to demand answers, to tighten your grip out of desperation. But real power isn't in control. It's in trust. It's in knowing that even in the chaos, even in the unknown, even when everything seems to be going wrong, something greater is still at work. So when you feel like you're drowning in uncertainty, don't pray for the waves to stop. Pray for the ability to float. Pray for the kind of surrender that doesn't weaken you, but steadies you. Pray for peace, not because everything makes sense, but because you believe that even in the not knowing, you are being led somewhere necessary. Do this. This isn't about letting life knock you down and staying there. It's about understanding that you don't have to carry it all alone. That releasing control isn't failure, it's wisdom. That strength isn't just about holding on, it's about knowing when to trust, when to breathe, when to stand, and when to let go. Because when you surrender to something greater than yourself, you don't fall, you rise. When everything feels like it's falling apart, the instinct is to pray for a way out. Make this stop, fix this, take this away. But what if the breakthrough isn't in escaping the struggle, but in learning how to endure it? What if the very thing you're asking to be removed is the thing that's shaping you into the person you're meant to become? Pain has a way of making us desperate for quick relief. We want answers now, solutions now, peace now. But real strength isn't built in the absence of struggle, it's built in the middle of it. The strongest people aren't the ones who never fall, they're the ones who learn how to stand back up again and again. And that kind of resilience doesn't come from easy roads. It comes from walking through the fire and realizing that even when everything is against you, something deeper inside refuses to break. So instead of praying for the storm to pass, pray for the courage to stand in the rain. Instead of asking for the mountain to move, ask for the endurance to climb. Instead of begging for the pain to disappear, ask for the wisdom to understand what it's teaching you. Because when you pray for endurance, you're not just asking for survival, you're asking to be transformed. You're asking for the kind of faith that isn't shaken by circumstances, the kind of strength that doesn't depend on things going your way. This is where you grow. This is where you find out what you're really made of. This is where you learn that endurance isn't just about pushing through. It's about believing that even in the hardest moments, you are still being shaped, still being guided, still being prepared for something greater than you can see. And when that day comes, when you look back and see how far you've come, you'll realize that the thing you prayed to escape was the very thing that made you unstoppable. Rejection stings. Failure is humiliating. Closed doors feel like proof that we're not good enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough. But what if the very thing that feels like a setback is actually a setup for something better? What if the door that just slammed in your face wasn't meant to confine you, but to redirect you? We are wired to crave certainty. We want clear paths, green lights, and guarantees. And when we don't get them, when the opportunity we worked for disappears, when the relationship we fought for crumbles, when the plan we trusted falls apart, we assume something is wrong with us. But here's the truth. Not every door is meant to open. Not every path is meant to be walked. And sometimes the no you're grieving today is the very thing saving you from settling for less than what was meant for you. So instead of praying for every door to open, pray for the wisdom to trust the ones that don't. Pray for the patience to sit in the uncertainty without rushing into something that isn't meant for you. Pray for the faith to believe that just because you don't see the plan yet doesn't mean there isn't one. Because what feels like rejection is often redirection. What feels like loss is often protection. And what feels like everything going wrong may actually be everything falling into place in a way you just don't understand yet. This isn't easy. It takes courage to trust the unseen, to wait when you want to move, to believe when nothing makes sense. But if you can lean into that faith, if you can hold on when the doors keep closing, you'll look back one day and realize that every delay, every detour, every disappointment was leading you somewhere better. And in that moment, you won't just be grateful for the doors that opened, you'll be grateful for the ones that didn't. Pressure has a way of making us believe we are breaking. The weight of disappointment, the strain of uncertainty, the exhaustion of trying again and again without seeing results. It can all feel like too much. But what if the pressure isn't here to crush you? What if it's here to transform you? Gold is refined in fire, diamonds are formed under pressure. Strength is built through resistance. Yet when life applies that same pressure to us, we see it as punishment instead of preparation. We ask, why is this happening to me? Instead of, what is this making of me? We beg for the weight to be lifted, not realizing that it's shaping us into someone who can carry more than we ever imagine. There will be moments when you feel like you can't take another hit, another loss, another closed door. You'll feel stretched beyond your limits, pushed beyond your patience. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can resist the process and let it break you, or you can surrender to it and let it build you. You can see the pressure as the end, or you can see it as the beginning of something new, something stronger, something wiser, something unshakable. So don't just pray for the weight to be lifted. Pray for the strength to carry it. Pray for resilience, not relief. Pray for the kind of transformation that only comes through fire. Because one day you'll look back at the moments that felt impossible and realize they were the very moments that made you unstoppable. The fire didn't destroy you, it forged you, and because of it, you are stronger than you ever thought you could be. Setbacks feel personal. They shake our confidence, whisper lies about our worth, and make us question if we were ever meant to succeed in the first place. We take them as proof that we're falling behind, that we're not strong enough, not smart enough, not lucky enough. But what if the setback isn't a step backward? What if it's actually the very thing pushing you toward a breakthrough? Life has a way of rerouting us when we're too focused on our own timelines, our own plans, our own expectations. We think we know how things should go, but then reality steps in and humbles us. The opportunity disappears, the relationship ends, the plans unravel, and in that moment, all we see is loss. What we don't see, at least not yet, is that the setback is often the thing making room for something greater. But this is where it gets hard, because in the middle of it, the disappointment is real, the heartbreak is real, the exhaustion of trying again is real. And it takes a different kind of strength to believe that what feels like an ending is actually a new beginning in disguise. It takes courage to keep moving forward when nothing makes sense. It takes faith to trust that the pieces are still falling into place, even when it looks like they're falling apart. So instead of praying for a shortcut, pray for the patience to see this through. Instead of asking why this is happening to you, ask what it's making of you. Instead of giving up because the door you wanted to walk through is closed, believe that a better one is already being prepared. One day you'll look back and see it. The setback wasn't a detour. It was a necessary shift. The delay wasn't wasted time. It was preparation. The struggle wasn't pointless. It was proof that you were being stretched, refined, and strengthened for something beyond what you could have planned for yourself. Keep going, because when you reach that breakthrough, you won't just be grateful for the success. You'll be grateful for the struggle that led you there. Words have power, not just the ones we say out loud, but the ones we repeat in the quiet corners of our minds. When everything feels like it's working against you, the greatest battle isn't just what's happening around you, it's what's happening inside you. It's easy to let fear, doubt, and exhaustion write the story, to say, I'll never get through this. I'm not strong enough, nothing ever works out for me. And little by little, those words shape the way we see ourselves. They steal our courage, they shrink our hope, they convince us that this moment is bigger than us, that we are powerless in the face of struggle. But that isn't true. It has never been true. What you tell yourself in the hardest moments will define how you walk through them. So instead of speaking defeat, speak strength. Instead of declaring the end, declare a beginning. Instead of saying, I can't handle this, say, I am growing through this. Instead of believing that everything is falling apart, believe that something greater is coming together, because your words are not just a reflection of your reality, they are shaping it. So pray not just for change in your situation, but for change in your mindset. Pray for the ability to see the possibility within the struggle. Pray for the wisdom to speak life over yourself, even when the world is throwing doubt your way. Pray for the resilience to stand firm in the storm, knowing that the way you talk to yourself in this season will determine how you rise from it. One day you will look back and realize that your words were either the weight that held you down or the wings that carried you through. Choose wisely, because even in the darkest moments, the voice you listen to the most will always be your own. Let it be the voice that calls you forward. Nothing we go through is wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the failure, not the moments where we feel like everything is against us. But when we're in the middle of the storm, it's hard to see that. Pain has a way of making us believe that this moment, this setback, this disappointment is meaningless, that we are stuck in a cycle of struggle without purpose, without direction, without hope. But that is never the truth. Every challenge, every obstacle, every season of waiting is doing something inside you. It is stretching you in ways you cannot yet understand. It is building patience, resilience, wisdom, and strength. It is teaching you how to rise after you fall, how to stand firm when the ground shakes, how to trust even when the path ahead is unclear. We don't always get to see the meaning in the moment. Sometimes we don't see it for years. But if you look back at your life, you'll realize that the hardest moments were the ones that shaped you the most, that the things you thought would break you were actually the things that made you. And if that's true of the past, why wouldn't it be true of this moment too? So instead of praying for the pain to disappear, pray for the wisdom to learn from it. Instead of resenting the struggle, ask what it's revealing about you, about your strength, about what truly matters. Instead of believing that this is wasted time, trust that something is happening beneath the surface, something necessary, something meaningful, something that will make sense one day. Because one day you'll look back and see it clearly. You'll see how the struggle strengthened you. You'll see how the delays protected you. You'll see how what felt like an ending was actually a beginning. And in that moment, you won't just be grateful for the blessings, you'll be grateful for the battles that led you to them. The strongest souls are not the ones who have never fallen. They are the ones who have fallen, shattered, and still found the courage to rise again. Life has a way of testing us, of pushing us to our limits, of making us question if we even have the strength to keep going. And in those moments, when everything feels like it's against you, the most important decision you will ever make is this: will I stay down or will I rise? Rising doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you don't feel the pain, the exhaustion, the uncertainty. Rising means you refuse to let the hardship define you. It means you stand back up, messy, bruised, uncertain, but still standing. It means you pray, not just for the struggle to end, but for the strength to walk through it with courage. This is where true resilience is built, not in avoiding pain, but in learning that even when you are knocked down, you are never defeated. That even when everything feels impossible, you still have the power to take one more step. That even when you feel weak, there is something inside you. Call it faith, call it grit, call it the fire in your soul that refuses to be extinguished. So when it feels like the world is against you, pray for the will to keep rising. Pray for the belief that no setback is final. Pray for the vision to see that your story isn't over yet. Because every great comeback starts with a decision: I am not done yet. And the moment you choose to stand again, to keep going, to keep believing, that is the moment everything begins to change. One day you'll look back at this season, at the moments that almost broke you, and you will see what was really happening. You weren't being defeated, you were being strengthened. You weren't being buried, you were being planted. And because you kept rising, because you refused to quit, you will step into a life that is greater, fuller, and more beautiful than you ever imagined. Life will test you, it will shake your foundation, challenge your beliefs, and push you to the edge of what you think you can handle. There will be moments when you feel like everything is working against you, like the weight is too heavy, like the struggle is never ending. You will question yourself. You will question your strength. You may even question whether you have anything left to give. But in those moments, remember this: you are not alone in this battle. You are not abandoned in the storm. You are not forgotten in your pain. Every challenge you have faced, every setback you have endured, every tear you have shed has not been in vain. They have shaped you, strengthened you, refined you in ways you cannot yet see. And just because you don't understand the reason right now doesn't mean there isn't one. So when everything feels like it's falling apart, don't just pray for the struggle to end. Pray for the strength to walk through it. Pray for the wisdom to see beyond the pain, for the resilience to keep moving forward, for the faith to believe that even in the darkest moments, you are being guided towards something greater. Trust that the same storms that threaten to break you are the very ones that will build you. The same setbacks that feel like failure are actually setting you up for something beyond your imagination. You may not see the purpose today, but one day you will. One day you will look back and realize that every battle you fought made you stronger, that every closed door protected you from something not meant for you, that every delay was preparing you for something far greater than what you had planned. Keep going, keep believing, keep rising, because this season will not last forever, but the strength, the wisdom, and the courage you gain from it will stay with you for a lifetime. You are not being destroyed, you are being rebuilt. And one day, when you step into the life that was meant for you, you will understand why every challenge was worth it.